Krishna Mukunda Govinda Giridhara, Krishna Mukunda Govinda Giridhara, Murali Mohan Narayana, Pati Purandhara Narayana. My most prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our Lord and loving Sai Ram to all of you. After today's talk, I might be disappointing most of you rather than, well, giving you some thrilling accounts of my experiences with Swami. So let me tell you at the very outset that I had no interviews with Swami. I came at a very middle-aged, almost I was, about 35 years of age. And now 47 years of my association with Swami, I had no interviews at all. Not only that, I had no interviews, no rings, no lockets, no nothing. But in fact, I was thrown out of an interview where my entire family was there, including my son who was studying there, my parents who didn't have faith in Swami, and of course my sister-in-law, my bhabi, who came from Calcutta. Since my son was studying there, my mother was not too well, so my father suggested that we show her to Swami, like showing to some doctor, So I said I was very happy because I was the only, myself and my younger sister, we have 6 siblings. So only two of us are, Sai devotees. The rest of them don't have any faith in Swami. All of us, the full family, my mother, my sister-in-law, they were sitting on one side, on the ladies' side, and myself, I was sitting with my father, and my son signaled to me after talking to Swami. Swami said, "Ha, bulao." So when he signaled to us, I took my father, and from the other side, my mother and my bhabi, they were approaching. As my father was not able to walk very freely, so I was holding his hand, and I was, we were proceeding towards the interview room. I saw Swami coming out of his room, and that was must be about 50 yards. From that very distance, he signaled to me like that, out. Oh, so I also gestured to Swami that my father cannot walk, so he has to be helped to reach there. So Swami came right up to us. He held my father's hand, and without saying a word, just signaled to me like this, "Get out." So I went out, and those days there was no Sai Kulwant Hall. It was somewhere in 1983 or 84. I don't remember clearly. But that has been my relationship with Swami. Anyway, to start from the beginning, I was a total agnostic till 1974. I entered into the fold in July 1974. I was total agnostic. In fact, I was avid reader of one magazine, Blitz. Perhaps some senior citizens amongst you, if there are any, they might remember Blitz magazine. Karanjia was the editor, and I was an avid reader of that magazine. So this gentleman, Karanjia, used to criticize Swami left and right. And I was one with him. Yes, absolutely. I had no faith in these godmen. I thought, as he was saying, they are all smugglers, they are all womanizers and whatnot. And I agreed with him. I mean, in my own way. But then suddenly, in the month of June 1974, I happened to have this book, Man of Miracles by Howard Murphy, in my hands. Reading that book changed my life. I'm to cut this story short. Although I was agnostic, but I had a fancy towards the character of Krishna, because in my school days I used to read a lot of books from library, in the school library, and I used to love reading about Krishna. So I had a fancy for Krishna. So as I started reading that book, I found it was Krishna, as if Howard Murphy is talking about Lord Krishna. Something started happening to me, and I would shut myself into the washroom, close the door from inside, and read the book and weep. I would cry minutes after minutes, sometimes half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes for even an hour. So by the time I finished that book, which was nearly a month, a book of that size, I would finish in maybe 4 or 5 days. But it took me nearly a month, because every chapter that I would read out once again to my wife. We would discuss, and like that, it took more time for me to finish that book. And the moment I finished that book, we decided we have to attend the bhajans, because I had read in the book about bhajans, about satsangs being carried out. So I thought that we decided that we have to look for where bhajans are going on. And ultimately we found very close to our house one family. Then within 1 month, we landed in Puttaparthi. Now in the very first darshan, there was an announcement, volunteers required for Seva. So I was just about 35 years of age, and well, I volunteered, and we were taken in a row to the top of the mandir. The present mandir, there at the top, dome was being constructed. So there were some masons working, and we were supposed to help them. And I was one of those who were helping. There were just about 4 or 5 of us. But here on the ground level, my wife and family with whom we had gone to Puttaparthi, Swami came to them, Swami gave them vibhuti, Swami talked to them. When I came down, after about an hour or two, so I was told about their encounter with Swami. And I just thought, oh, my bad luck, I couldn't talk to Swami. So one among the family, that family who had taken us to Puttaparthi, the next day, he was a small boy. Swami was entering, coming from the Purna Chandra auditorium, which was under construction. And then from there, he entered the South Canteen, the South Indian canteen. All the while, he was looking at me. And this young boy signaling me, Paiya, Paiya, jao, jao. Pranam karo, pranam karo. But I was somehow reluctant. Swami was walking inside the South Canteen towards the Gopuram gate in that direction. And I was walking along on that road in front of canteen. And suddenly Swami came from the last door of the canteen. That is the first towards the Gopuram gate. Swami came up, Swami came out, was standing on the that floor, the stair landing, and he was watching. He was watching me. He was looking at me. I was looking at him. But the distance was there. And this small boy telling me, Paiya, Paiya, jao, 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 pranam karo. And some good 2 or 3 minutes have elapsed. And I suddenly started to make a move, and Swami said, "Shh," like that, "Shh," like that, as if to say, keep away from me. So my dear young friends, that has been my relationship with him. 47 years now. 10 years ago, Swami passed away. Swami took Mahasamadhi. That means 37 years I've been with him so many times. I've been to almost every year. I used to go 4 or 5 times because my work took me to Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and almost every time I used to pay a visit there. And every time during the darshan, Swami would make it a point to avoid visiting the point where I was sitting. That has been the thing right from the beginning. Now, let me tell you another thing. My first darshan of Swami in the evenings of the first day, 1974, that was 1st September. 1st September, yes, I remember. 1st September. In the evening, Swami was coming and I was just praying to him, "Oh Swami, give me gyan. Mujhe gyan do." I didn't know at that time that whatever you pray, Swami gives. But if you are asking for gyan, knowledge, wisdom, you have to pay much higher price. And I did pay that price, at least on the worldly sense. My relationship with Swami has been ever since almost like, I mean, in films, you often see a girl pining for love of a boy, but the boy does not care for him, for her. And it's unrequited love. In the worldly sense, once again, let me tell you, in the worldly sense, mine with him was an unrequited love relationship. I always saw red eyes whenever I encountered Swami. Although I had lots and lots of charan sparshas, then so many times he presented me with those gifts and all that. Although I had umpteen occasions and opportunities because of plays and kavalis and so many things that we took to Puttaparthi. So I had all that, but I didn't want that. I wanted Gyan, and Gyan he did give me, but at a very high price. Because Swami was not talking to me, and I was pining for just to talk to him. Just maybe he wanted him to say, "Cha mera charan sparsh karo." No, nothing. I mean, uh, uh, talk to me, or I wanted to touch him or anything like that. All those in the worldly sense or physical sense, nothing of that sort Swami obliged me with. But that pining, वो तड़प जो स्वामी ने मुझे दी, उस तड़प के माध्यम से, through that pining, through that, जो तड़प मेरे अंदर थी, he gave me lot of insight into what he meant for me. And there was a point where I stopped giving any importance to these, only pining for his love and trying to feel his presence inside. Now, there is a story why I am saying this. Within 1 year, 1975, Golden Birthday, we went for Seva. I went there to Puttaparthi as a Sevadal. And we landed there in the very early part of November. I think around 3rd November, we landed in Puttaparthi to join Sevadal. And let me tell you, at that time, there was no organized Sevadal, at least in Delhi, not even in Puttaparthi. So they were volunteers, but there was no organized Sevadal. So as we landed in Puttaparthi on 3rd, from 3rd till 10th of November, we had no leaders. We were some 10 from Delhi, 10 people from Delhi. And we were moving together, trying to look for some opportunity to work, do some seva. And we were, wherever we found any chance, we would join and hands, and then we will do. But something happened. Something very dirty happened. Back in Delhi, before leaving for Puttaparthi, we used to do Laksharchana, we used to do meditation, we used to do Nagar Sankirtan, and we used to have nice time in Delhi. Back in Delhi, I was staying in Kirti Nagar. So Kirti Nagar, from Tilak Nagar to Jakhira, almost 50, 60 people would join, and we would do Lakshachanas and all that, and we used to enjoy. But something happened on nearly, I think, 10th of November or something in Puttaparthi, which shouldn't have happened, which was very unpleasant. But then which made us, it happened somewhere around 10 o'clock at night. It was raining and something happened, a fight with somebody. So after this was over, we some 10, 12 of us, we sat down and thought, what back in Delhi, we were so happy, we were so blissful, we were so much, living as per Swami's wishes. We were doing meditation, we were doing everything that Swami would like us to do. But here in Puttaparthi, where we are at the proximity of our beloved Lord, and we are behaving like urchins, we are indulging in fist fights and whatnot. It was not fist fight, but it had come close to that. So we decided it was the reason was only one thing, that we were talking too much. We were indulging in too much of talking. So from tomorrow, no talking. We'll observe silence. And from next morning, 6 o'clock, most of them decided 6 to 6 in the evening, but I decided 24 hours. I'll keep silence. I did not tell them, but I wouldn't talk. We used to sing earlier. We used to sing bhajans and all that, but I would not join bhajan, anything, and I would simply observe silence. So after that, within 2-3 days, we were given groups to work with, and I was allotted accommodation for foreigners. I mean, it looked to be a very comfortable thing, but it was very, very tough job to do, because West 3 block up to West 3 were ready, but West 4, West 5, West 6 were under construction. And we were supposed to help the masons who were, preparing the rooms. Bathroom ka kaam hai, commode fix karne hai, rasoi ka kaam hai. So many things had to be done, and we were supposed to. And there were lots of sevadal working in each room. In each room, there were at least 10, 12 people, all shouting, "You bring this thing, bring that thing." No. But I was observing Maun and doing everything. But this went on till about 24th of November, when almost everything was over. And that keep observing Maun gave me so much of experience. Why? Because everybody was shouting around. What would I do? I know observing Maun is not that easy. It's not keeping, not speaking anything is Maun. Your mind, monkey mind, keeps running here and there. So just to keep the mind silence, what would I do? I would simply try to observe Swami's feet in my heart, holding on to feet, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, with eyes open. And I'm doing everything. Nobody knows what is going on within me. But that job, in a continuous, constant job, 24 hours. I did not talk to anybody. That helped me a lot. And almost tapasya gave me an insight into what really Swami wanted from me. And from that point onwards, I have been able to work according to Swami's wishes. So I didn't get any interviews, but I got a lot of interviews. My wife, she got 4 interviews. And I take satisfaction in one of the interviews. He told my wife, तुम बहुत गुस्सा करता, बच्चों को 2 हाथ से मारता, कूटता. In fact, he used the word कूटता, Punjabi word. तुम बच्चों को 2 हाथ से कूटता, तुम बोलता माँ हम घर को तोड़ता. Let me tell you something about this. Since we had come hardly it was 1 year or so, I had bought some beautiful pictures of Swami, huge pictures, and that I had kept in my bedroom. So one particular night, before my wife got this particular interview, we were having an argument over something I don't remember. So I told her, why do you worry? We have Swami, we have Bhagwan now in our life. Why don't you tell him? He'll help you. So she just said, oh, इनका काम क्या है? ये तो घरों को तोड़ते हैं. And well, बात आई गई हो गई. We forgot about it. I forgot about it. I never remembered this thing again. But then Swami remembered. Swami told her, तुम बोलता हम घर को तोड़ता? नहीं माँ, हम घर को नहीं तोड़ता, हम तो जुड़ने के लिए आया. तुमको इतना अच्छा हस्बैंड दिया, तुमको इतना प्यार देता, इतना प्यार करता, तो तुम क्यों इतना गुस्सा करता? And that was enough for me. When I heard that this is what Swami told about me, so I knew that it is even Swami's apparent anger is Swami's way of expressing his love. Because many times he has been saying Bangaru. So if somebody is addressed with that word by Swami, he becomes very happy, he or she. Oh, Swami called me Bangaru. And I am really very dear to Swami. I am in his list. Maybe I am first in the list. So he's called me Bangaru, gold. But there is a clear warning when he calls somebody Bangaru. It means he's giving an indication, be prepared, I am going to make you pure gold. And how will I do that? I'll throw you into the furnace, into the crucible in 1000 degrees centigrade. You'll be burnt. Then you'll be taken out, you'll be hammered, you'll be ground, you'll be polished. All that grind you will have to go through. Then you will shine in your real form. You'll become real gold. Be prepared. And there is an assurance also. Don't worry. I'll be the goldsmith to subject you to all that processing. So I think what Swami made me go through was this processing. He was trying to make me, to turn me into gold, to get the best out of me. Because, as I said, I was total agnostic before I came to Swami's fold. Never used to believe in anything, divinity or spirituality, nothing of the sort. But here he was giving, by putting me into that process, he was giving me a direct experience of his love. I knew that it is his love, and I didn't care for anything. I didn't care for it. And this pining, helped me to what all I've been able to do in this organization. I joined Bal Vikas. Bal Vikas was my first love. Whatever I have learned, I've learned in Bal Vikas. And it was in the very first year, mind well, 1974 itself. I joined Bal Vikas. I learned slokas, I learned bhajans, I learned stories, and I also became one of the Bal Vikas gurus. And then he helped me to participate, to take part in so many things. Like 75 experience I told you, then in 1983, there was a play organized by Nimish Pandya ji, who is the present All India President. He was directing a play, of course, under the supervision of some film directors, some directors from big shots from film industry. They were helping him. In that play, which was perhaps Cosmic Love, in that play, the play ended with the scene where Bharadwaj Rishi has gone to Shiva and Parvati, who are engaged in that nritya, and to invite him for Havan. But 3 days he's there, and because of the cold, he gets that frostbite and whatever, he faints there, and suddenly Parvati notices there, and then they both help him to bring him back to senses. And then Shiva promising him that I'll take birth in your lineage 3 times, and that 3 times would be Shirdi, Satyasai, and Premasai. This part I was supposed to depict, I was given the charge to depict on a truck. Now, to show Shiva and Parvati dancing in Himalayas, I needed that background. And there's a long story how I got that Parvat, Himalayas, constructed on the truck. The truck was about maybe 10 feet high, and the Himalayas that we constructed was nearly 25 to 30 feet tall. Anyway, to cut the long story short, Swami was so happy seeing that scene, children dressed as Shankar, Shivaji and Parvati and Bharadwaj. Swami was so happy. Swami told Nimish Pandya, देखा हमारा बच्चा लोग कितना अच्छा करता. Nimish Pandya called me then. I didn't know Nimish Pandya then. Nimish Pandya ji called me and said, this is what Swami has said about your children. So thank you very much. Well, he congratulated me, and well, thing got over. That was in 1983. Then came 1989, Kawali, and there something happened where this processing, which I have mentioned a little while ago, that processing about making me getting the best out of me, I was subjected to that process once again. How we had taken a new set of children, of course, and Nagaraj is, most of you must be knowing Nagaraj. He's our bhajan guru. His daughter, Preeti, she was the leader in this group. So they were supposed to sing Kawali, and there were about 11 instruments, and about maybe 25 to 30 children. I don't remember exactly now. But that Kawali failed. Why did it fail? Because we were given 11 mics, 4 for children and 7 for instruments. The mics for instruments did not work throughout the Kawali. But we were sitting in the pit. We who were playing the instruments, we were sitting in the pit, and we started the music. We started playing our own instruments, uh, but we didn't come to know what is happening actually on the. And Preeti, Nagaraj's daughter, just getting up and telling me, "Uncle, sunai nahi deta." She signaled to me, "Sunai nahi deta." I thought she was nervous. I said, "Don't worry, it will come out. It will come all right." But I didn't know what was actually happening. But as the Qawwali ended, Swami came on the floor, on the stage, and Swami presented each child with this thing, a shawl, and Swami was all, during the Qawwali, Swami was on the Jhula, and everything was over. But as Swami left the hall, some of the parents who had accompanied the children, they came up to me because we were preparing to pack up our instrument. They said, "Mehta sahab, aapne kya kiya? Satyanash kar diya Qawwali ka." Because they were there all through the rehearsals and all. They knew how the Qawwali would go, what all instruments were being played by whom, and what all was happening. They were enjoying thoroughly for during the rehearsal. But the final, when it was actually placed in front of Swami, it it was a disaster. And all these people said, your mics were not working, no sound of your harmonium, no sound of your israj and your tanpura and whatnot. I mean, 7 instruments except dholak. So 4 mics for the children and the dholak. Only these things were working, but nothing from the instrument side. So there was no support, and children were singing, and there was a big gap. Only dholak. Again they were singing. There was a gap, and it was horrible. We did not enjoy it at all, and aapne satyanash kar diya. And oh my goodness, I thought, what was this? What was this? Why did Swami do this to us? Why our later on? And anyway, I came to know the real cause, and that again is a big story. But there again was a lesson, as somebody explained to me. He said that all these 2 years, we took 2 years in preparing that Qawwali. You've been thinking, he was telling me, that मैंने कवाली लिखी, मैं कवाली बनाई, कंपोज की, मैं प्रैक्टिस करा रहा हूँ, मैं all the time you were giving all the credit to yourself. You forgot Swami. And here, while Swami was there on the stage, Swami was enjoying. Swami enjoyed the kawali thoroughly. Swami, I mean, you could see Swami enjoying sitting on the jhula. He was smiling at the children and everything. But it was a disaster as far as the audience were concerned. So he said, "You forgot Swami." So Swami has done this deliberately to teach you a lesson. And of course, what a lesson it was for me. Here, I would like to end with a talk. This talk was by Dr. Sundar Iyer. Many of you might have heard or read about it in the YouTube also. He said when he was a student, in one of the interviews, exclusive interview, Swami asked him, "Kya chahiye?" He said, "Swami, you. I want you." Swami said, "Well, I am already all throughout the day. I am roaming about among you only, among the students. What else you want?" "Nahi, Swami, I still want you only." Swami said, "तुमको स्वामी चाहिए या साई चाहिए?" Listen very carefully. तुमको स्वामी चाहिए कि साई चाहिए? Dr. Sundar Iyer says, at that point, I tried to be very smart with Swami, and I said, "Dono." Swami became a little grim-faced and said, स्वामी तुम्हारे सामने है, तुम्हारे साथ है जब तक ये शरीर है, पॉइंटिंग टू हिज ओन बॉडी. स्वामी तुम्हारे साथ है जब तक ये शरीर है, लेकिन साई तुम्हारे साथ, तुम पैदा भी नहीं हुए थे, उससे पहले थे, तुम्हारे कई जन्मों से तुम्हारे साथ है, अभी भी साथ है, और मेरे चले जाने के बाद भी तुम्हारे साथ रहे. What an important message Swami has left. And Sundar Iyer says that this was life-changing moment for me. This was the real thing which really made me what I am today. Sai. What we are looking for? Are we looking for Swami or are we looking for Sai? Because Swami is only the body, and who is no more. Does that mean that Swami is no more? He's very much there as Sai. And where is he? He said, pointing to him, Tumhare hriday mein, I will be there as Sai in your heart, right there. So now tell me, what do you want? And he says that I couldn't resist my tears. I said, I want Sai only. That is what my last message to you, if you take it that way. Let us all, Swami is not anymore, Swami is not there in his physical form, but Sai is there. And we have to connect to Sai only. Like somebody says, हम साई को तो मानते हैं, लेकिन साई की नहीं मानते. So what do we have to, I mean, if we are devotee, we call ourselves devotee, Swami ke devotee hain. What are we devoted to? Whose devotee we are? Swami? Swami means that body. Are we devoted to that body? Are we devotees only because we are singing his bhajans? Are we devotees only because we take part in study circle and we sing bhajans and we aarti dete and all that? Does that make us devotee? No. Sai ki sunna hai. What Swami has taught us all these years, all of you know, all of us know. Love all, serve all, or whatever he has taught. We have to internalize all that and live. Swami's life was Swami's message, but now he wants our lives to be his message. So for each one of us, we have to think what I am doing for Sai. Am I, whatever I am doing, is that going to please Sai? So that should be my prime focus. I have to focus on that only. Let me think, let me do, let me speak only what pleases Swami. That's about all. माधव श्री हरि मंदर गिरिधार, माधव श्री हरि मंदर गिरिधारे, गोविंद मुरहर नारायण, गोविंद मुरहर नारायण, पति पुरंदर नारायण, पति पुरंदर नारायण, पति पुरंदर नारायण, कृष्ण मुकुंदा गोविंद गिरिधर,